Hey guys, so I'm out here on this wonderfully miserable day, and I figured what a great time to do a video. So I was I was slacking and watching a video, and it's by a guy who has a few followers on YouTube, and I believe his channel is called Acres of Adventure Homestead. He did a video where where he denotes that egg prices have reached kind of a miserable high, and he's right. They certainly have. Paying $8 for a dozen eggs, not great. In the beginning of his video, he says that it's an absolute shame that these big hatcheries have to kill off tons of birds, literally thousands of birds in one go. And he links to a bunch of different articles that say hatcheries killed off 10,000 birds and stuff like that because of avian influenza. He goes on to suggest that they should test one bird and segregate the rest, and says that they should treat it like COVID, in that they should quarantine these birds, and makes note that it'd be crazy if they decided that because you had COVID they would just slaughter your whole family. He fails to mention that avian influenza is called HPAI, so it's highly pathogenic avian influenza is what HPAI stands for. And the problem with HPAI is it spreads very rapidly. So even if you have one bird or 6 or 20 or 10,000, the problem is if you test and you find one bird. So say you have a hen house full of 10,000 birds, and you test 1, test 2, test 3. Those 3 birds don't have it, but you get to the 4th one and it has a sampling of HPAI. Test positive. The problem with HPAI, it's called highly pathogenic for a reason. It spreads very rapidly. And the problem with HPAI is that, not that it spreads very rapidly, that's one problem, but it kills within 24 to 48 hours. So what you'll start to see happening is you get one bird that will test positive, and then suddenly you get 2, and then 4, then 8, then 12, then 16, then 20. It just keeps going. The problem with that, it's like we got some water on my lens here, is you can't quarantine those birds. You have to assume they all have it. And it's just one of those things. You can't just slaughter, quarantine one, because if one has it, all of them have it. And that's a real problem, and it's a shame. Now the bigger issue here is, he says that, it's a shame that these birds are slaughtered. Look, I get it, man. It really is a shame. It's a shame that, we have to kill off all these cute little birds, but if I were to test one of these birds and found out that one of them had HPAI, I would have to kill off all of my birds. Every one of them. Even the waterfowl, who will contract HPAI but show no symptoms and not die. In the United States and most other countries, like the European countries that raise chickens, chickens are treated as disposable livestock. The mindset is kind of crap, but you have to understand why, right? Chickens, on average, let's consider it a heritage breed, right? If you have a heritage breed chicken, that chicken is going to be a producer of probably medium-sized eggs for a good 4 to 5 years. That's it. They live about 7. And that's all you're really getting out of them. Yeah, there's older edge cases where, they say 12 years or whatever. Is what it is. Now, with production breeds of hens, they only really produce good eggs at the peak of their production, for about 2 years. 2 years is good. Big hen houses will produce eggs for about a year and call everyone. It is what it is. You have these birds, and we've engineered them in a way that make them produce eggs rapidly every day, and you supply a little bit of light, and they'll lay an egg for you every day. You make it warm, you get super production. When you grow all those out, like I said, they only last for a year. You grow them out, they lay for a good amount of time, then you have to call them. Otherwise, productivity goes down. I'm just trying to illustrate that they are considered a disposable livestock. So Acres of Adventure, in his video, he shows a bunch of heritage breeds. Saw some Rhode Island Reds, some Barred Rocks, maybe some Bielefelders. They're all heritage breed chickens. You'll get a medium-sized egg out of them, which is going to be about this size. Out of your super producers, you'll get an egg that's just a little bit bigger, just a little bit, half an ounce. And when they produce hard and heavy. They put a lot of energy into those eggs. That's why they're only good for a year or two. So the problem I have with this video, he makes a lot of good points though. The problem I have with this video is he's kind of encouraging people to ignore biosecurity rules and regulations. Now, a lot of people that grow chickens, they don't care about that. They just want to have chickens, they want to have eggs, they want to have a hen house. Okay, cool. But when you have a visibly sick chicken who, on the HPAI, usually the nostrils are wet, the comb becomes splotchy and purple, the eyes become kind of closed, they're hunched up and lethargic, that bird needs to be called immediately. Whether you like it or not, that's what needs to happen. You can't assume that the rest of your birds are clean. When you look at your chickens, most of the time they're going to flock together, which means they're in close contact with each other and they're spreading whatever they have. It's just the nature of the beast. It sucks a lot, but you have to do your part. You have to ensure that you're keeping a clean flock. Because, think about it. That chicken with HPAI, you let them free range. They take a dump right on your back porch. You walk out there in your regular old tennis shoes to get your, package or mail or go to your car or whatever, and you step in that poop. And on your way to your car, as you step in that poop, you hop in and you take a ride down to the local feed store. And then you track that dookie all throughout the feed store. And Nancy comes through and she steps in the remnants of that dookie and takes it home to her flock because she doesn't practice good biosecurity either. That means that her flock has it now. Even though those chickens never came in contact with each other directly, you have spread that disease, and there's a host of other diseases too, mycoplasmosis, there's a lot. Worms, things like that. You spread that to our other flock. So to say something like that, like quarantine your birds, waterfowl, okay, I can see that. Waterfowl can fight it off. There'll be a carrier of it, but waterfowl can generally fight that kind of stuff off. Chickens, on the other hand, cannot. So you know, you have to be careful with what you're saying, especially when you're saying that kind of stuff to lots of people, because what's happening is you're encouraging people to not care. Me personally, I have to care. And when I say I have to care, what I mean is it's a personal choice to care, as well as a state choice for me to care. I am registered as something called NPIP, which is National Poultry Improvement Program. And the purpose of this program is to ensure that my birds are clean. It allows me to do things like transport birds over state lines, go to fairs with birds, sell birds in the mail, ship hatching eggs, all that good stuff, and not have to worry or have the consumer of that poultry product worry that the birds are going to be sick. It's one of those things. I mean, imagine, imagine if he bought his birds from me and my birds were sick and I didn't know. Maybe they had pylori, maybe they had coccidiosis, which is another thing I call for. Maybe they had something that I didn't see as a baby chick. Those are things that I have to pay attention to. But he received his chickens, put them in his brooding bin, and they seemed fine, except that he cleared out his compost bin, or his brooding bin, into his compost pile every week or every month or whatever, and now he's infected all his other birds. It's one of those things you don't really think about. And I'm not trying to trash the guy, really, truly I'm not, but it's kind of an ignorant way of thinking, ignorant in the term of just being uninformed, because like I said, he brings up a lot of other good points in his video, like how we should support our local agriculture and how you can get better product by buying from your local farmer and all that good stuff. The eggs are healthier for you when you buy them local. You have to be careful. Really, you have to be careful with what you're doing, because your chickens can become sick just like that from seemingly innocuous things. I peruse Facebook, and Facebook is one of my main selling vectors. And there's always people complaining that their birds are sick, hunched up, coughing, wheezing, hacking, whatever it is. And to avoid a flame war, I don't say anything, because oftentimes I'm wrong and they're right, so I don't say anything. But it's one of those things that if you practice the right measures to ensure your flock stays healthy, it's easy. Some of the things you can do, very specifically a big one, is actually this: wear boots. And those boots should never leave your property. They should never go to a friend's house. They should never go to a feed store. They should never, ever leave your property. Because what happens is they get dookie on them, and in between the treads and up the leg and all that stuff, and that good stuff can flake off and end up somewhere it doesn't belong, like at the feed store, or your friend's house. So it's just one of those things. Boots are a big one. Huge. Absolutely huge. I know it's easy to just kind of go bop it into your run and fill up their water real quick with your regular tennis shoes on, but not a good idea. The other thing you can do is pay attention to wild birds on your property. I know they're beautiful. Swans, Canadian geese, robins, sparrows, all that stuff. Herons, they are a vector for disease. And waterfowl will carry disease and show no symptoms. The other thing you need to protect against is vermin. Too many people cast out their feed. Just, here, chickens, take this feed. The problem with that is any uneaten feed attracts rats. When you have rats, rats generally, if they run out of feed, they will go elsewhere for feed. And then there's feed again and they come back. The problem with that is they go find feed somewhere else and they bring with them whatever they caught. Could be fleas, could be lice, could be some sort of infection, could be bacteria, whatever. Same reason we don't allow rats in our house. You don't want them in your hen house. It's generally not a good thing to have rats. They do sell. I believe Tomcat makes a brand of rat killer now that's safe for your animals. It won't kill your animals, even if the rat eats it and lays out in your run, and the chickens eat the rat. You still want to throw, those little bait chunks or whatever under things that the chickens can't get to. But you do need to practice vermin control. Get some granddad feeders. Get some, make a bucket of some kind with rodent-proof cups on it for the chickens to get into. Whatever it is, feed is an attractant for all animals: rats, waterfowl, regular birds. Just not a good thing to have laying around. So I mean, I don't know. It just I saw his video. I know the man means well, but as soon as he said he was wanting to quarantine these birds, I don't know. I work hard to keep my birds clean. I've been doing it for 6 years at this point. I've got over 300 birds. A lot of heritage birds, a lot of heritage waterfowl. And if I were to lose all those birds, I'd probably lose around 15 grand. So it's important that I practice good biosecurity rules. For someone with 5 or 6 chickens, okay, I kind of get it, right? It's 5 or 6 chickens, you spent like $40 on chickens. All right. But it's still not a great thing to do. I mean, oftentimes these people that have 5 or 6 chickens have young kids, and to see them lose their birds and not even know why, and then you have to deal with your kid whining and crying that they lost their favorite pet when it could have been avoided simply by changing your shoes. And the other thing, like northern fowl mite, it's a little tiny louse actually that will infect your bird. It's like a golden color, and they feed on blood. A lot of people have issues eradicating them because they use diatomaceous earth and it doesn't work on them, or spider mites. But both of those mites, well, louse and mite, suck blood, and it causes your chickens to reduce laying. So all these people complaining their chickens don't lay and they're only a year old and they have heritage breeds and they should be laying into 5 years old. Take a look at your chickens. Look real close, because oftentimes they'll have fowl mite, or they're not getting enough protein. A good way to fix a laying issue is feed them cat food, especially on the shoulder seasons when they don't have access to all the good bugs and stuff. But yeah, it's easy. It takes just a little thinking, and I'm not trying to imply that people are dumb by any means. Just, you got to think about how you're raising your birds and how to keep them separate from everything. So I don't know, but like I said in the video, he makes some good points, and some of those points are: visit your local farmers, support local business, buy good eggs. Oftentimes they're the same price that you would get at the store. Oftentimes your local farmer will have other things available too, maybe honey, maybe quail eggs, maybe goose eggs like me. Maybe they're selling some arts and crafts that you wouldn't get at Walmart, right? Some delicious pies and breads and things like that. Things that you would miss out on if you just exclusively shop at Walmart or Tesco for my overseas buddies. Yes, support your local farmer. You'll often be surprised by what you find. I do recommend, though, and I've had a problem with this, with other people supplying me eggs in large orders, because oftentimes, right now I have a problem. My birds have foul mite, and they're all free running, so it's a bit of a pain in the ass to catch them. They're reduced laying. But the problem I have is when I can't supply enough eggs to somebody, like 15 or 20 dozen, I often reach out to other local farmers to see if they can supply them, because, well, if I can't supply them, why should they miss out on the $5 or $6 a carton, and I still make my customer happy. So the problem is a lot of people don't really candle their eggs, or if they do, they're using a really crappy flashlight or one of those little candlers that's shaped like an egg. Doesn't do a really good job. You need a good egg candling flashlight. This is a Streamlight macro stream. It is a special kind of flashlight. I don't think they intended for it to be used as this, but it works really, really well. I think it's a 0421. I don't know. It doesn't actually seem to have a model number on it. But the thing is, here's a secret, right? So you have your light, and you have this thing on the side here. Well, this thing on the side here, it slides forward, so you have a perfect egg candling cup. You also have a port for USB recharging, and this thing is 500 lumens. If I grab one of these eggs here, and you'll have to excuse me, I'm doing this with one hand. You can see that egg beautifully, even with my lights on. But if I turn the lights off, doink, look at that thing glow. It's even lighting up my face. So it works really well for candling, eggs, and you can see all the little pores, and even better yet, all the micro fractures that are in that egg. You really don't want to make somebody sick with what you're selling. It's not only disgusting to crack an egg that has something in it, like a worm, or getting a lash egg, which is basically a solid egg full of meat, or an egg that's rotten, or one that's really watery. Kind of gross, but I've had that issue with other people that I bought eggs from. And again, back to ignorance. It is what it is. You just need to, I don't want to say not be cheap, because that's not really what it is, because that flashlight is $50. It's really more about buying the right tools to do the job. When you're first starting out, you don't know what to do. Chickens are new, they're exciting. It's this weird thing running around your yard, clucking and making all kind of weird noises, crazy antics. But if you plan to do anything with those eggs other than eat them yourself, you should do your due diligence to make sure that thing that you're planning to sell is fit for consumption. And that flashlight is a fantastic way to do it. There's also something else called a little egg scrubber, and I got this piece of crap in here, right behind this cage, and the reason it's in there is actually because the motor on it burned out, that I had replaced. Little egg scrubber, they have a good idea, but back to not being cheap. They put a motor on it that is a brushed motor with a gear reduction box. You can buy them on Alibaba all day for like $4. And they took that motor and they dipped it in Plasti-Dip. I don't know if you know what Plasti-Dip is. It's a rubbery liquid. You can dip like plier handles in it, or whatever. It creates like a rubbery coating. It also has kind of a potential property to seal water out, similar to that product we all see on TV called Flex Seal. So they dip the motor in Plasti-Dip, and dipped it right up past the power cord so it would theoretically seal. However, you're not supposed to seal a brushed motor. It leads to overheating and failure. And never mind that if there's any water ingress, plastic dip is prone to actually have bubbles in it. When you dip multiple things in it, it'll get bubbles, and those bubbles deposit themselves in the plastic dip on whatever you're coating. And oftentimes what ends up happening is those bubbles will pop and water can get through it. When you have something hot inside a plastic dip, that air, especially on a brush motor, will expand and push out those bubbles. And when it cools, it'll suck water back in. So now you've sucked water into your motor that can't expel water, and you cause it to fail. Not such a great idea. Little Egg Scrubber sells that motor with the power supply, because you can't remove it, for $79. A $4 part. My neighbor makes a statement all the time, and it's really ringing true right now. And that statement is, I don't need to make all the money. And I mean, it's absolutely right. So taking a $4 to $8 part like that motor and that power supply with a little bit of plastic dip and reselling it for $80 is criminal in my mind. It is absolutely anti-consumer. It's like Tractor Supply, for example, selling that bag of corn right there for 20 bucks. That's a 50-pound bag of cracked corn. Not even really great quality corn. I just bought it because I really needed it and didn't have any corn on hand. I can go to a local farmer and pick up 100 pounds of uncracked corn for $16. And he's raised his prices in the last 2 months from $13. 100 pounds for $16. I'm getting double plus a little more. You know, it just, I don't know. I'm for not ripping people off. Just puts a, you know, nice feeling in people. When they realize you're not out to screw them. You know, do I need to make money doing what I'm doing? Yeah. But I'm not going to sell a bag of feed for $27.99 like Tractor Supply does when it costs $6 to make. I don't care. It doesn't make sense to me. It just, but yeah, anyway, so Little Egg Scrubber rips people off, you know, and it's back to the whole, like, make your customer happy. So candle your eggs, get your chickens checked. Just pay attention to what you're doing in terms of biosecurity. Everybody be happy, you know. But again, acres of happiness or acres of homestead, acres of adventure, homestead. I knew I'd get it. Not trying to trash him. I think he simply missed the point that HPAI is a significant threat that'll kill birds within 24 to 48 hours. You can't quarantine. It just doesn't work like that. So anyway, here's my almost 30-minute rant. You know, thanks for watching. Buy your eggs from a local farmer. You'll like them better. See ya.